It's 2024 and you want to play a retro game console on a modern day TV. How do you even do it? Most modern TVs don't have any kind of analog connectivity, so maybe you'll try getting one of these HDMI adapters. They're available tons of places, tons of stores carry them, online places carry them, but the picture quality, it leaves a lot to be desired. It's got you wondering, did my games always look like that when I was younger? That's the exact thought that I had when I first got my 4K TV in 2016, upgrading from a 32-inch TV that was like 720p to a 4K TV around 50 inches. That's the exact thing that ran through my head, like, what is going on here? I guess it's just how they always were. I never really thought about it. I'm older now, I'm smarter, I'm more analytical, these games don't look so good. Well, that's not the case. The issue at hand here is that when you were playing retro games back in the past, you were playing them on a retro television, CRTs and the like. And if you were to play any retro console on a CRT nowadays, they look fine. They look great even. There's no problem. But modern day TVs, digital flat screens, not the case. They're pretty rough. So what can you do about it? You can do something about it, is the point. And this is something that I didn't know back when I first started doing gaming content on YouTube in 2020. Really wish I did, and I since pivoted to talking about it as a main interest because I find this stuff so fascinating and want to continue spreading the word and making people aware like I wasn't at first. Man, so I'm here to talk about 4 options you have at improving the performance of your precious retro game consoles on modern day TVs. This one is for the enthusiasts of the space. We got the RetroTINK 2X Pro, the RetroTINK 5X Pro, that's going to be the focus of this video, 2 options there, and also the RAD2X and the CARBY, which I will also briefly touch upon. So, thanks for joining me. Hope you find this informative. Let's get into it, starting with kind of the basic overview of what's to come. So what are these devices that I'm talking about, and what makes them better than some of the really cheap options that are out there? Well, let's talk about those cheap options real quick. So I alluded to the AV to HDMI in the beginning of this video. You'll find these in some stores, but tons of presence online. They are everywhere. The AV to HDMI is one of the examples of what I'm going to call a generic adapter. Stuff like this will take composite. There are some component models out there as well. They'll convert it to digital HDMI, which then goes through TV. For a lot of people, they buy that and job done. I got it. I got my retro console experience on my TV. Done. But what's lacking with these things? Well, depending on your care for picture quality, maybe nothing. It's all subjective, right? There's a subjective element to all this stuff we'll be talking about. And for some of it, it's the kind of thing that only a true enthusiast is going to go for. And that's not a bad thing at all. There's an enthusiast market for every hobby. Keep that in mind. Whether it's tuning up cars or making model trains, there's always going to be a casual side and the premium enthusiast side. It's in all things. So when someone who really has that enthusiast mindset uses something like the AV to HDMI, what are the detractions? Well, number one, the picture quality itself. Like I said, it caused a kind of crisis in my mind about, did my games always look this way? What's going on? But there's also a performance side as well. The generic adapters always tend to add some kind of level of latency to the signal. It's input lag. When I used the AV to HDMI that I got from GameStop, I really noticed it playing N64, and I really noticed the component model they sold with the PS3. PS3 was unplayable. It was you could feel the lag. N64 wasn't bad, but it was enough that it would mess up precision kind of frame perfect scenario stuff, like doing a Mario triple jump. It's not frame perfect, but it's precise, right? You gotta press the button at a specific time. And it was messing me up doing that because there was a little bit of input lag. So that's the main thing, is the input lag. But there's also the quality side to it as well. Plus, gaming devices that are built for gaming, like the RetroTINK family of products, the RAD2X, etc., they're all built for gaming. I just kind of fumbled myself to with. This is already the 10th take. I'm going to own it. So they're built for gaming, which the generic stuff, despite how it's usually advertised, really isn't. That's the biggest thing to consider. When I started the channel, I was using this StarTech converter. It's pretty much you'll find it kind of listed for like a great capture card device for use for retro gaming. But the thing isn't built for gaming. It's built for like a camcorder or a VHS player to your computer to record stuff. That's what it's meant for, right? These things are built for gaming, and they have features that are aimed specifically at improving and catering to the gaming side of things here, whether it be to give you a faithful reproduction of what these game consoles should look like on a modern TV. They give you that CRT flavor, things like that, or just quality of life optimizations like smoothing out the image for consoles like the N64. It's cool stuff. So I will do some comparisons of the RetroTINK devices against the AV to HDMI experience. I've done like full videos on that. It'll be a small component of this video, but let's get into the details of each one of these devices, starting with the 2X Pro. The 2X Pro was the first of all these devices that I ever owned. Very cool. It's the most nostalgic. It's my old-timey friend. The 2X Pro, what is this thing? We're talking about it. What does it do? Basically, it's an HDMI adapter, but there's a lot more going on under the hood. So, the 2X Pro has a variety of analog inputs. You can see it has composite, component, and S-Video. If you're wondering what the hell is S-Video, I'll get to that, don't worry. This video is aimed at people that really don't know anything about this stuff after all. But it takes those variety of inputs and then converts, it has an HDMI output, so it's converting analog to digital. So you accomplish the basic task of getting your retro game console to give HDMI to your TV. Awesome. It does that lag-free. Very awesome. But it's also improving the picture quality because the 2X Pro is a line doubling device. It'll take a 240p or 480i signal and perform line doubling on that to output the signal as 480p. So the TV is not just getting HDMI, it's getting a better signal overall that will look a lot better on your TV than the generic adapters do. Overall, cleaner, more defined image. That's cool. It's got more going on than just that, though. This is where the gaming-centric part of this comes into play. Number one, it has a variety of toggleable filters. You could keep the basic sharp filter on for like consoles like the Super Nintendo, the NES, Genesis, the 2D stuff. Or you can enable the smooth filter for consoles like the N64, the PS2, the GameCube, to smooth out those 3D console experiences, make them look a little better. You can also enable a scanline filter to simulate the CRT kind of experience. Very cool. It does take away the brightness unless you use cabling like S-Video or HD Retrovision's component cables on the bright setting. Helps kind of overcome that, but overall you do lose some image brightness when you do this scanline filter. You could up the brightness of your TV, try to compensate for it, but it will take away from the brightness somewhat. The 5X Pro, which I'll get into, has a way around that, which is pretty cool. But keeping it with the 2X Pro for now, there's also a toggleable comb filter that further kind of simulates the CRT overall flavor of image. I like it best with the NES in particular. I think it works best with that. Pretty cool. So that's the 2X Pro kind of in a nutshell. What are some of its limitations? Well, despite the fact that it has a variety of inputs, it does not have a variety of input resolutions it can take. So keep in mind, it can only accept up to a 480i signal. If you were to give it 480p, which consoles like the original Xbox, and the GameCube mainly, but also the PS2 for some of its titles, support, it would not be able to accept those. It would glitch out, you wouldn't get a clean image from it. So it can't take 480p. That means that the 2X Pro is best for the retroist of retro consoles. The cutoff point for me is just kind of like the fifth or whatever gen it is, the 5th gen, Xbox, PS2, GameCube. You want to be careful with those consoles. But at the same time, it does have the flexibility of accepting component from those consoles, so even if you are going to run 480i content to it, it'll look way better than composites that you can use component. As far as S-Video goes, S-Video is a really nice step up from composite for not much money. It's a cheap upgrade compared to component for some consoles. Component cables for consoles like the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, can be very expensive, the GameCube as well. Whereas S-Video is not a big bump for a big bump in quality, and the 2X Pro can take advantage of that. I'll be doing composite, component, and S-Video comparisons in this video. It'll come after I talk about the next guy on our list, which is the 5X Pro. The 5X Pro is something for the real enthusiast crowd. If you're crazy about this stuff, you're going to want to look at the 5X Pro. Let's talk about it. So what makes the 5X Pro so different? Well, the name is the first clue. This guy takes it five-fold. Whereas the 2X Pro is a line doubling device, the 5X Pro is like a full-on video processor. At base, it'll take signals like, say, 240p and scale them all the way to 1080p, which is a 5x multiplier. But there's a lot more it does from that. There's tons of customization to this thing, right with the output resolution for starters. Although 1080p is the base option, there's different variations of 1080p. There's 1080p over, there's 1080p under, there's the base 1080p fill, but there's other resolutions as well. You can go down, whether it be to like just directly convert and keep signals, say 480p to 480p, stuff like that. But there's also even higher. Through firmware, it got updates to shoot all the way to 1440p. Different versions of that, 2560 and 1920. So like a 16:9 and a 4:3 variant of 1440p. So that's cool. You can also customize the horizontal sampling though to match specific game consoles to keep the experience as authentic as possible. There's the basic generic 4:3 and 16:9, but there's also dedicated sampling modes for different consoles, Super Nintendo, N64, etc. Different variations for the PS1. It's really cool. And you can also simulate scan lines in a much greater detailed way versus the 2X Pro. Whereas the 2X Pro is just a simple on-off, the 5X Pro has a full-on scanline customization suite, which the cherry on top is that the 5X Pro got the ability to simulate HDR, high dynamic range. If you have a modern TV, I'm sure you've seen that term here and there. I have a full video about this topic, but to briefly summarize it, HDR is a type of signal that goes on top of a signal. Oh my gosh, it's metadata that travels on top of a signal, basically offering a better range of color, higher contrast, so brighter brights and darker darks. Now the content is programmed to have that, and for certain content, like say Dolby Vision content, that's been like tuned frame by frame, scene by scene. It's very articulate. However, the 5X Pro can trick your television into thinking that the signal is that kind of signal, and that makes the TV switch into an HDR picture mode that has the backlight be much, much brighter and allowing for darker darks. So you trick the TV into going into an HDR picture mode. And what does that mean for your like overall picture quality? Well, number one, it's way brighter. Number two, it complements excellently with scan lines and really lets you turn your modern TV into a CRT in function. In particular, OLED televisions tend to be the best at this. So that's really cool. Someone that wants to simulate the CRT experience, the 5X Pro is definitely for you. That's awesome. Additionally, beyond all that, there's more. The 5X Pro has a pretty extensive customization ability for scaling and cropping. That lets you really make sure that the image is seated correctly and the proportions are accurate on your television. So that's awesome. And when you pair up the sampling mode correctly with the console, like it all grabs on, you can it even tells you like what the exact ratio is for like a proper trimmed 4:3 experience. So the 5X Pro is very, very feature rich. It's only gotten better over the years through firmware. There is also another option, the RetroTINK 4K. It's everything the 5X Pro is and more. An even more sophisticated suite of customization and, of course, as its namesake implies, outputs to 4K. So that's like the premium model in the mix here. The 5X Pro, though expensive, has a lot going for it for its price. The 4K is out there for people that really want that top level. They want to tune and customize everything. I gotta get in there and do it now, baby. That's what the 4K is there for. I do plan on getting one eventually, just haven't done so yet. So there's the 5X Pro in short summary. Let's now do some comparisons. So to kind of give you an idea of what these devices do in comparison to the more basic / generic option, but also against each other, what does the 2X Pro look like compared to the 5X Pro? That kind of stuff. Let's show it off. I've prepared a variety of examples here. Normally, I do like longer clips, demos, whatever, but I want to kind of keep things concise as I possibly can, so it's not going to be as many demos as I usually have done for other videos in the past, but I think it's going to be more than enough to show the point. So here comes a variety of examples that will compare the RetroTINK devices to the AV to HDMI, but also will show you kind of what the cable differences are like. Okay, it can be comparing composite, S-video, and component. Specifically in regard to component, what this actually is my Super Nintendo outputting SCART RGB that runs into a RGB to comp transcoder, also made by RetroTINK. It's a zero latency device that converts SCART to component, and then component from there goes into the RetroTINK devices through my switching system. This is all covered in my game console collection videos. I use Extron switches to manage all my game consoles. It's a very cool solution. There's many out there: Extron, Questron, the G Comp, my Castlevania, now know my Rondo games. I think tons of options for that kind of stuff. Got videos on that as well. Let's get into the comparisons, though. Please enjoy. Hope this is helpful for you. Hope you found those examples helpful to paint the picture of what these devices do in comparison to each other. Before we wrap up, I want to quickly talk about the RAD2X and the CARBY. First, the RAD2X. The RAD2X is a very interesting device. It's a lot cheaper than either of the other two RetroTINK devices I've talked about so far, and the reason for it being cheaper is its scope is more pointed. Whereas the 2X Pro and the 5X Pro are great for a large collection of game consoles, thanks to their large number of input options, the RAD2X devices are manufactured for specific game consoles or family of game consoles. The one that I own is the RAD2X Nintendo. It works with the Super Nintendo, the N64, or the GameCube. For the Super Nintendo, damn, it's awesome. It can actually grab onto the RGB output that the 2X Pro and the 5X Pro can get if they use better cables. So it gives you that higher quality experience without having to invest in not only the 2X Pro or 5X Pro, but then better cables. So that's really cool. So because of that, the quality is just really amazing. For the N64, it can grab on RGB if you have an RGB modded game console, an N64, I should say. If not, it still has the smoothing filter function like the 2X Pro has, so it can still give you a better than average experience, even if it is grabbing onto like the composite output of the N64. For the GameCube, not so great in my opinion. It loses some of its luster there. That's where the CARBY and other GameCube video devices are going to pick up here. But basically, it's like the N64. You could use the smoothing filter to help it out some. It'll only grab onto RGB if you use a PAL region GameCube. That's the one limitation there. So to anyone with a US era GameCube, you may want to consider the CARBY's fine, but or sorry, the RAD2X is fine, but there are some other options. Although it does depend on the model GameCube you have. So that's where I would say like S-Video with the 2X Pro is a great GameCube solution. The RAD2X though, for the Nintendo side of things, SNES, oh, so good. In regard to the CARBY is an HDMI adapter built for the specific model 101, or DOL 101 GameCubes. I got that right. It's hard to remember now. I don't remember what it was now. DOL 101. Bottom line is there's two different types of GameCubes. There are GameCubes that have an extra video port, a digital AV out, as it's labeled. The CARBY and other HDMI adapters like it that use the same GC video technology, firmware. It's open source, so a lot of devices use it. But there's the CARBY, the RetroBit Prism, and many more. The CARBY is like one of the best price point ones, so is the RetroBit Prism, same price. God, alright, focus. But it'll only work with the model GameCubes that have the digital AV output. The benefit, though, is that it'll grab on to 480p from the GameCube, which is a much better output than the usual 480i that you'll get using composite or S-Video. That's awesome. Practically all of Nintendo's first-party games are 480p compatible, so the picture quality looks great. A lot of third-party ones can have it. In my experience, third-party tends to be where you don't see it. It'll be 480i. The CARBY will do line doubling for any kind of 480i content. It's worth mentioning that the 5X Pro is like the interlaced king here. Its ability to process 480i content is really good, and it has gotten better over the years. So if you're looking to get like the best overall, the 5X Pro, in addition to its wide cable supports, also has the widest resolution support. So the CARBY, though, if you have a model GameCube compatible with it, offers a great experience for those 480p games. So that's kind of all 4 of these devices in a quick summary. Hope this was helpful, kind of seeing them all in basic, knowing what they can do, seeing some examples, etc. This is not meant to be like an in-depth analysis of any of these in particular. I just wanted to talk about them all briefly for someone that may not know that they even exist. I want to spread the word more. This is basically a remake of the first video on this topic that I did way back in 2021. It's kind of the idea here, because it's been, gosh, almost 5 years since then. It's been 3, I can't count, whatever. It's been almost 4 years since then, and I've acquired all these devices, gotten better cables for them. I can do more examples than I could back then. So that was the idea with this video, to kind of show them all off in basic, more options than I had before when I first did this, 15 years ago. I'm just going to keep adding to it. It was 37 years ago that I did this. So hope this was helpful and informative. Appreciate you being here. I've got other more specific videos on all of these, whether it be the RAD2X, the CARBY, the 2X Pro, and the 5X Pro, doing various comparisons and videos on them. I've also got a dedicated video for the 5X Pro's HDR feature as well. So there's tons of more specific stuff on that. Again, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, help support growing the channel. Also, we got a Discord server too. It's popping off lately. It's a great place to talk about all of this stuff and other things as well, whether it be getting more info on these devices or just sharing dumb memes, talking about gaming news, movie news, whatever. We got it there on the Discord server. Also, I do live streams as well, pretty regularly on Sundays. Do different stuff, alternating weeks, doing a full playthrough of Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door with double pain badge, alternating that with just random stuff every other week. So other things going on the channel, plus there's Retro Boost Arcade. Halloween's coming up, me and a friend playing games together, my buddy Tori, playing games together. Some of that is available on early access now in the Discord server. We're playing Alien Isolation's DLC expansions, Crew Expendable and Last Survivor. So that's all that stuff, blah 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 blah. And wait, there's more. No, I'm good. That's all. That's everything. All right, thank you. Bye bye. See you. Have a great rest of your day.